One should never be scared of committing mistakes while trying something new. But our time is limited. Therefore, one is advised to learn from the mistakes one has committed and travel through the path of success. Hello, I am Dr. Rupkatha Ghosh. My dear students, seekers of knowledge and young aspirants, it is my pleasure to welcome you all in this open online course offered by IGNOU and telecasted through the platform of SWAM. Today, we are going to discuss about editing. Editing is an essential part of creative writing. Nowadays, the demand of creative writing is gradually increasing. Therefore, we should discuss about editing, that is a part and parcel of creative writing. The objective of this course is to grasp the requirements of editing. An editor has to scrutinize and select good and useful writing material in order to its presentation. One will come to know the difference between a copy editor and a general editor. As a copy editor, one must have a thorough grasp of spelling, punctuation, grammar, and usage, etc. One should have a thorough knowledge of the various aspects of book publishing. One must have a passion for literature and a spirit of inquiry. As a general editor, one will have to scout for new writers and manuscripts. One will learn the values of discretion in editing no needless corrections. One will learn to respect the job of an editor. The hard work, patience, courtesy shall be rewarded. Comparative speaking, in the intellectual history of man, and editing is rather a recent activity. If man developed the art of writing some 6 millennia ago, he has been at the job of editing only in at least 2 centuries or so. In fact, the need for it arose with the increased reading, particularly of the creative and non-creative texts. As more and more people started discovering the joy of reading, faster reproduction methods of reading material came to be devised. Along with the readers, the number of writers also multiplied. The area of writing became diverse. With these developments came the need for scrutiny and selection of the right material and its orderly presentation, which in essence constitutes editing. Editing and its meaning. The word editing is derived from the Latin editus, past participle of the verb eder. It means to put forth, to give out, or to publish. The editor selects from the tons of material that comes into his mill. Then he cleanses and sorts out the best and cooks it to satisfy the cravings of the gourmand or the connoisseur, thereby adding a flavor to it. The process of editing. This is the most important phenomena of editing. The first step is to go thoroughly through all the manuscript that is submitted for publication. After that, the selection of the articles that would be interesting and beneficial for the readers. Finally, the editor work is to give a right form and shape to present it to the reading public. Kinds of editing. Generally, editing are of 2 kinds. These are known by their standard terminology. One is copy editing and the other is general editing. However, there is no clear demarcation between the two. A person handling one kind might do some of the jobs associated with the other and vice versa. Copy editing. Copy editing is more of a mechanical job involving intelligence and experience. Anyone who joins an editorial office as an apprentice will have to start with this. Copy editing involves scrutinizing with a microscopic eye the copy of the manuscript of a work after it has been accepted for the publication and preparing it for the press. Scrutinizing. During this process, a copy editor marks the copy for the press. It involves instructing the printer through universally accepted and understood symbols what matter should go in which type and what style it should have in print. For instance, the title of a book or a word of a foreign origin is always italicized. This is indicated by underlining the matter words. Then there are the names of characters in a play which by convention are shown in a small capitals abbreviated. A quotation from some other work is shown within quotation mark or inverted commas. It may be set off by indentation from the main text and sometimes in addition as a house style given in a smaller typeface. These styles have been standardized since the earliest days of publishing and have become universally accepted. Such acceptance of an approved style to make easy the comprehension of written text for the reader. Training and acceptance is an important part of editing. There are almost 100 of such stylistic details which a copy editor should know how to mark a copy. There is no dearth of reference book on this subject, and every copy editor should have some of these ready at hand for consultation. But when it comes to learning a course of apprenticeship under a senior editor in a publishing firm will be more helpful than mere reference book. Spelling and punctuation is given an utmost care. There is yet another thing a good copy editor has to be proficient in. He should take special care of spelling and punctuation. It is of the greatest importance that copy to be correct in this respect. For this, the copy editor should be familiar with the standard spellings. He should have a keen eye or ear for diction. Faulty expressions, quaint and infelicitous words should be queried. That is, a reference be made promptly to the senior editor or the author. A copy editor should also be careful about facts and dates. Grammar and usage. One should have a sound knowledge of grammar and its usage of the language. The manuscript is generally passed on the copy editor after the general editor has done his part. But it is still possible that both the author and the general editor might have slipped up on the point of grammar and its usage. The copy editor will earn their gratitude if he points out such lapses. This is also one of the ways to train himself to become a general editor in due course of time. Dressing a copy. It means it is a job of the copy editor to dress the copy. Although the editor always remains behind the screen, it is on his enterprise that the fate of a publishing firm or a literary paper or magazine hangs. It is to provide proper titles, headlines, subheadings, and cross-headings. Again, one has to be done in consultation with the senior editor and the author. A copy editor should have an easy access to an array of different reference materials. These are dictionaries, encyclopedias, guidebooks to style and usage, thesaurus, and a who's who. All these materials ensure the accuracy of the work. One should never be tired of consulting such materials if he is a good copy editor. Needless to say that one will be able to accomplish all this successfully. A copy editor should have a thorough knowledge of various aspects of book publishing and techniques of printing. Also, one should have a passion for literature and an eye for detail and spirit of questioning. There is more serious and more responsible and also the more respectable level of editing and general editing. A person who does this job in a publishing house is called a publisher's editor. A person who works in a periodical press or a journal is known as a literary editor. Now we will discuss about publisher's editor. The publisher's editor is a Second World War phenomenon. With the proliferation and diversification of the publishing industry in the last 40 years, editing of book has become a matter of specialization. Every publisher now has his own editorial department with one or more editors. At a time when authors were few and publishers fewer still, an author generally went directly to the printer with his manuscript because the printer was often himself the publisher too. The author was supreme and what he wrote was printed as such. That is, if the manuscript on the whole was acceptable to the printer publisher, moreover, though progressively became an economically viable and independent activity quite distinct from the printers. Even then, there were no editors, and the printer publisher and later the publisher himself read the manuscript, took decisions about its acceptability, fixed the style, and read the proofs and saw it through the press. But the situation, as explained above, has now changed. Similarly, with the periodical press, instead of a general pool of sub-editors, we now have separate editors for literary page, sports, and finance, etc. Now coming to the function of a general editor. A general editor with a publishing firm or a literary editor attached to a periodical has to perform diverse functions. He has to scout for the right authors and manuscripts. He may even think up and develop new ideas and get books or articles written on them. From the manuscripts that pour, he has to decide what fits best into his scheme or framework, what goes well with his readers, and then select accordingly. Conclusion. Now coming to the conclusion, we may say Thereafter, one has to go through the manuscripts and see what editorial changes are necessary. Although the editor always remains behind the screen, it is on his enterprise that the fate of a publishing firm or a literary paper or a magazine hangs. Therefore, we can say the fame, the success of a publishing house depends on the expertise of an editor. To become a successful editor, one has to be a successful author and he has a thorough knowledge about different editorial things such as style and guidelines, grammar and usage, and all these aspects of creative writing. Thank you.